I've been teaching myself how to make a bow, so I'm gonna try another one here. I'll try another one, and I don't know. I almost didn't stream at all because of this damn connection. But I'll stream for a little bit. I'll attempt some bow making, and nothing happens for a while. I'll just cut it. Just continue to work. Really no sense in me streaming if I keep dropping frames and there's nobody here to interact with. So it's very unfortunate. Okay. Ah, damn it. All right. Just trying to follow along a tutorial that is only about half clear. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to add a loop cut in here. Just like that. Yeah, okay. Actually, a really simple way to do it. One more, right? Too much. Oh, where are you? There you are. Don't want that section there. This is proving to be a little harder to select than I thought it would be. Let's see what that does. That might be easier. I gotta get around to setting a custom interface in here too. So it keeps loading the default and then all this crap is open. I don't need any of that, so. I don't know. Be less than that. Maybe just stick with one bow. Just stick with one. Oh, it's not bad. This is the tutorial I looked at here. When I subdivide it, it looks nothing like that. It's typical of Blender. I'm gonna check Twitch for a bit here. Just not stable. Just doesn't seem worth it. The streaming, I mean. Hmm. that should do it. Maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I just want to do scale X. The fuck? I just need to pull this. Oh, welcome back. Yeah, not necessary. Although I almost killed the stream. I almost didn't stream at all. You can see why right down there on the bottom. Look at this over here on the left. The frames have been dropping like flies. It's the worst it's been in 2 months. Ever since the last time I called Comcast and said I have a problem, and they came out and said it's an ongoing issue. Something wrong with the line somewhere. We don't know where. It's going to take at least 2 weeks to fix. 8 weeks later, it's worse than it's been in 2 months. That bottom number is temperature in Fahrenheit outside. And Comcast Tech told me 2 months ago that their line boosters are not designed to handle the cold. That's what they consider cold. So you tell me, are they blowing smoke up my ass or not? I'd say yes. Yeah, way too late. I also started late. I can switch to CenturyLink, which is even worse than Comcast. That's DSL. My employer has DSL, and I know how bad it is. I used to have it here. It was so bad I switched to Comcast. If that'll tell you anything. But I'm in concentration mode again, so I'm teaching myself how to make a bow with ribbons. So this, well, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting for sure. I'm running through things in my head, so. Let's see, if I select this and I scale in the z-axis. Just wondering how See that? It's doing a little bit. It's interesting. It certainly looks better than the last bow I made. No, I don't want that one. I want this one. Where's that bloody line? The subsurf modifier is on, so I'm having a hard time finding this these two lines here. Let's see. I'm gonna scale that too. Like that. It's not bad, so I could help you with math if I don't want to stream. I'm the last person you want to ask about math. Let's put it this way. I was gonna make 2 of these bows, and then I was gonna turn one 45 degrees, and then kind of put them together so that there'd be like a cross here like this. But then I thought, what if I just want to turn one this way and then turn this one this way so that, you know, I'm turning both, but I get a total 45 degrees. I had to pull out the calculator to figure out what I needed, even though it's 22.5. I had to pull out the calculator because I wasn't sure. And I'm in Blender and I suck at math. Can you see what's working against me here? This is all geometry. Geometry was my best subject in high school. So, you know, do the math. There is none. I have a math deficit. I have a math deficit. I should look at see, this is the thing. I wanna make a collar. And I just been looking at collars, and I'm not into the whole I like Neckos, but there's a BDSM element to it, and I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not a fan of having a girlfriend that I could put a cat collar on with a chain and drag her around. It's no. But I kind of like this design here. And I could do if I look at enough tutorials again, I can make another heart, and I can make a bell or something, or maybe just a ring here. I don't know, something like that. That was my plan, to make a kind of a ring here with a little bell on it. You know, just a simple thing. But I was like, how the hell do you make a bow in Blender without using booleans and stuff like that? So, I mean, I have a bow here, and I'm unsure what to do with this other part. Kind of thinking just having like 2 ribbons, kind of like if I duplicate this, then I'll have 2 of them. you know, kind of like this here. I can manipulate them a little bit and I can turn them. So like if I'm rotating on the z-axis here, I believe it's R. Yes. R, z-axis, and if I go something like 10 degrees, like that, take the other one and like maybe minus 12 or something. So you don't want them exactly to be like uniform. I could even make one a little bit longer than the other. So scaling on the x-axis, just a little bit longer. You know, just something like this here. And then I would have to put a loop or something in here, which is easy. I can put a cylinder here and just take off the end caps and just kind of squish it. Pythagorean theorem, quadratic equations, and algebra. It very much sounds like my days in high school, sophomore year. That was like 26 years ago. I'm afraid I can't help you. I know the terms, and I think if you gave me a book and I opened it up and it would be like that, but not now. They're so buried deep in my database, so I've never really had to conjure them up. I know angles, but I don't know the all that other stuff. I mean, yeah, it's just ironic. I'm playing around in Blender here, so these would be on the front, and or I could even just kind of sink them in here or something. It's not going to be super. Well, I can make it detailed, but it's not going to be big. You know, it's going to be on one of my characters, so. Actually, I should probably do is just kind of put them in the back so I can put that loop in there. I can manipulate that stuff later. E2, let's knock that down to 16. Radius and depth. Depth, I can bring this down to like 0.5 or something. Yeah, 0.5 will be okay. No cap fills. I would turn it on its x-axis. Rotate X 90 degrees. See, I know that crap. That's about it. A mole is 6.022 times 10 to the 12th power. I have no idea. No idea what a mole is in math. I couldn't tell you. See, what happened was, actually, the first time I took algebra was in middle school. I want to say I was 11. The school I was at was teaching algebra when I was like 11, like in 7th grade or something like that. Because a grade after that, they actually taught chemistry. But then high school came along, and I took the trade school route, and the highest I got in college math was geometry. Took algebra the first year, got like a C minus in or C plus. I think it was C plus. No, I had to have done better than that. I think I started out with like a C minus or C plus and worked my way up to like a B minus. And I did better in geometry. I was like an A minus or something in that. But then after that, it was related math, related science, which was electrical equations, stuff like that. And so no college math after that. So no, literally from age like 15 to now. If you're doing that math, we're talking like 30. See what I did before? Well, I started with 15, 25, 35, 40, 44 and a half. So we're talking about 30 years. I know how to pull out a calculator and do math. And if I need to learn an equation, then I'll look up the equation and I'll try to understand it. I've never been good at math. In fact, when I was in grade school, I remember all the way up to like 6th grade, I was working through multiplication flashcards, if you can believe that. Scale, z-axis. Hold on. Let's back that up. Where's my... We'll turn it off. Okay. Scale, z-axis. Now I do have a genius level IQ. That's no lie. But I can't fucking do math. I've never been really that good at it. And I'm in Blender. That's so. What the hell is a guy who sucks at math working with 3D, which is all math? But again, you know, like when I was in school, I knew some stuff, and I mean, I graduated top of my class, so I mean, there's something to be said about it. But after going through so many years and not having to apply any of that knowledge, it's just not there. I'm gonna scale on the y-axis here a little bit. Probably scale the whole thing up like that. So I'm gonna add a solidify modifier to it. What is the square root of 65 or 625? I couldn't tell you. I'd have to do the math. See, a lot of the stuff is memorizing stuff and then spitting it back out. It's not really until high school when really you get into algebra to a certain degree. Then you get into when you get into calculus and trigonometry, you're actually doing equations and actually applying the math to things. So, and I've been rebellious. I wasn't really that into regurgitating information. You know, several of my high school teachers have said stuff like, "Well, if you'd only apply yourself, you'd be doing a lot better." And it's like I'm not. Like I was in this history class, and this lady told me that. You know, it was like my sophomore or junior year. It's like some history class, And I was like, A minus or A, and she's like, oh, if you'd only apply yourself, you'd be like an A plus, you'd be this. And I was like, I don't have any interest. Can I go back to shop class so I can actually like learn something that I can apply to life and just that kind of enthusiasm for the trade really kind of showed itself in um they had competitions and how do I even kind of go about this? It's because the ship probably doesn't even exist anymore. Um, there was there was a worldwide club I don't know if it exists to this day, um, but it had to do with trade schools, high school trade schools, and you'd learn a trade, but then you would actually compete with other kids at that trade, and then you'd finish in certain ranks and stuff like that you compete on a regional level, state level, and a national level, and if you were good enough you'd compete on a world level. So um, all I can say is I was in the top 24 the year that I competed at the state level for residential wiring. You know, I didn't place first, second, or third. That's all I know. So it was anywhere between fourth to 25th. There were 25 of us in the state. So I don't know. I just say the top 25 in the state. Top 25 electrical wiring students in the state in the vocational level. Again, there's nothing to show for it. I'm a mechanic at a bowling alley, so I've done electrical work. I don't have a license. Not that they pay well around here anyway. But there's very little that I know off the top of my head. Very little. Cause my brain isn't really wired that way. I mean, even now, I've been doing the Dad Studio thing for 11 years, okay? And I still have cheat notes for certain things because I can't just, okay, this is what I got to do, blah 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 blah. In order for it to be second nature, I have to do it over and 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 over again. It's like driving. You know, I could be half awake, stumble into my car, and I could drive to work without any problems. So it's just, you know, if it's an academic thing, then I can understand. I could probably do that. But and when you get older, um, you may find yourself in the same position that I'm in. If you're not constantly repeating a certain thing, that it's just you won't forget about it entirely, but it won't be it won't be so ingrained. I probably shouldn't have done that. Just kind of want them together. And they're gonna need to be, according to this, they're actually gonna need to be thinner. I can see that now. Just a little, just a touch. Scaling on y-axis here. This, something like that. It looks a little bit better. This is my first attempt, so I'm not really gonna expect this to be 100% pixel perfect, so. That's actually not too bad. I really don't know how to curve these planes. I don't know if there's, I know there's a curve modifier, but I think that curves along a Boolean. Deformation axis, object. Failed to set value. Yeah, I don't exactly know how to do this. I think you have to have a curve in here, and then this will follow the curve. So I've really done that. I'm gonna have to look at that later. I'm not gonna waste time trying to figure out how to do that. Give an example of the chaos theory. Well, that's a bit different. And I'm not sure if you're taking the route that I think you are, but being academic about it. It would be like taking a deck of cards and playing 52 pickup. And every time you scatter the cards on the ground, they're going to land in a different fashion. That's probably the easiest way I could explain it. But that's not really a mathematical theory. And actually, for a long time, this is what's frustrating. But let me check this again here. This is, I mean, look at this. There's 10,000 drop frames in an hour. It's terrible. But let me switch to this here for a bit.